for it, find it, make it your own. It's the Get Thrifty Podcast.
Hey Thrifties, welcome back to the Get Thrifty podcast brought to you by ARC Thrift Stores. ARC Thrift Stores is a nonprofit thrift store chain, and I am your host, Maggie Civic, and we are all about sharing everything that has to do with shopping secondhand. So if you're part of our unique thrift culture, please contact us. We would love to promote your business, your social channels, and share your stories and advice with all of our listeners. As always, you can find us on Instagram and on YouTube at ARC Thrift. Send us a DM and let's chat. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty excited about this guest. I've gone down the rabbit hole of her YouTube page. Please welcome Amanda Nicole Terry, Nikki, to the show. She is the owner of Terry Cloths Vintage and a digital content creator under the social media handle at Nikki Terry Style. Since 2020, she has shared thrifting and styling videos on her YouTube and other platforms. As the Nikki Terry Style Vintage collection and community grew, Terry Cloths Vintage was born. We will ask all the questions. We get into it here. Thrifting from a young age gave Nikki a lifelong love of secondhand fashion. She has always enjoyed the challenge of mixing vintage and modern pieces in her personal style. Today, she especially loves statement clothing pieces, anything that's perfectly worn in or a little distressed, which you know we love on this pod. And her massive personal vintage T-shirt collection, which you know we also love on this pod. So we're going to ask about her favorites. Terry Cloths Vintage features fashion from the 1960s to Y2K and specializes in size-inclusive fashion as well as vintage pieces that feel wearable each and every day. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a nice introduction, my entire bio.
Yes, and we're so excited. We like to give people a big background on all the things, and then we're going to dive into all the nooks and crannies. And I'm
absolutely
totally obsessed with your YouTube content. It's warm and inviting. That's like the first thing I get from it.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. And I was telling you off camera, we're actually going to be using some of your content for some training videos for our staff. So I'm jazzed about that. More to come.
I am even more jazzed. That's amazing to hear. That makes me very happy.
It really is helpful. If thrift stores out there aren't utilizing the content and the feedback from their customers, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I want to dive into it. Let's give people your handle once again. Many people tell me they follow along as they listen. So how do we find you on all the socials, all the ways?
Yeah, I'm primarily on YouTube and Instagram, as you mentioned, under Nikki Terry Style. And I think I have a TikTok, but I need to get that going.
You are not the first person to tell me that, by the way. They start it and they give up.
And then I have my vintage business, Terry Cloths Vintage, which is local to the Washington, D.C. area, if you want to shop in person. And I also sell online. I'm mostly on the app Whatnot.
Okay. All right. I want to hear about your Whatnot journey. So I'm going to make a note of that. Before we get into that, I want to hear about your DNA. Like, how did you find secondhand? Tell us all the things.
Yes, I do have kind of this long journey to becoming Nikki Terry Style and where I'm at today. So I'm a lifelong thrifter, avid thrifter in the Washington, D.C. area currently. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, and that's a big jump. Okay.
Yes.
No wonder you like vintage tees.
Yes. Yeah. I've moved around a bit, which is also part of the journey, of course. And I've been here in the DC, in Northern Virginia, in the DC area now for 13 or 14 years, something. So this is home now.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, keep going.
Yes. A lifelong thrifter. I was raised by a single mom, amazing single mom. So we're always on a tight budget. I have an older brother. And everything was DIY, secondhand everything, thrifting, yard sales, hand-me-downs. My mom was actually pretty skilled at sewing as well, so she would make some clothes. She would make our Halloween costumes and do costuming for the school theater type of thing. So I was always playing dress up in her closets with my friends, my cousins and stuff. And it was this big mix of pieces that she had saved from the 1950s onward, things that she had made, and just quirky pieces. I loved doing like the whole 80s dress up thing at that time. At the same time, in the 80s, when I was a kid, dating myself, there was quite a stigma around thrifting in that decade, I would say. And I was teased for my secondhand clothes and my thrifted wardrobe and things like that. But it was not as popular. Again, just a stigma around thrifting, I think. But fortunately, when I was a teenager in the 90s, that kind of changed around because I think the grunge movement really embraced thrifting and
We were living in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, I'm dying. That's like the
yes,
best.
that too.
Nirvana.
Yeah. So at that point, I had resented the secondhand nature of my wardrobe for a long time. I really was thriving in the late 90s because I was already a skilled thrifter at that point. In the 90s, we were thrifting all of the 70s stuff.
Mhm.
And I wanted to be Donna from that 70s show, if you remember
Yes.
Laura Prepon. Wanted her wardrobe, so it was like looking for a dagger collar, thrifting the menswear stuff like men's 70s trousers, and it went with that like slacker vibe that was part of the grunge fashion.
And then mixing it with your Doc Martens. Yes, love it.
Yes,
Speaking
yeah,
my
the
language,
Docs and the
girl.
Converse, and that's all still a big part of my personal style to this day. I love the 90s and 70s fashion to this day. The other stigma, though, for me was I think that there was a lot of stigma in my own mind about being really into fashion and being really into clothes and stuff. And of course, like I come from this frugal family, like it's seen as a frivolous thing, it's not an intellectual thing. I'm using air quotes. Okay, I'm not coming for anyone. But I think that in my mind anyway, there was for a long time the stigma that was not something that was to be taken as seriously. So I hid away this part of myself that I was really into style and not high-end fashion runway stuff, but like personal style and just loved clothing and again playing dress up. So I hid that away for a really long time. And fortunately, how do I put this? Basically, out of high school, I started working in retail. Sorry, my brain just glitched there. I do.
Oh no, it happens.
Okay. So then out of high school, I started working in retail and did do that for a while. I worked at the store in the mall called Hot Topic in the early
Oh
2000s, which was
yes.
like peak mall goth days.
Mhm.
And really just Hot Topic was shining then. And there was a big overlap with music and fashion in that era and stuff. So I really liked that. Unfortunately, I was painfully shy, which is another reason it was hard for me to take fashion risks and really let myself get into my personal style. You kind of have to put yourself out there doing that, right? But working retail brought me out of my shell. I was so bad at my job at first, I almost got fired. But fortunately, I ended up getting like a good mentor and learned to become really good at sales. And I managed stores for years with them. They had a really good training program back in the day, too. And yeah, so that kind of brought me out of my shell, but I still wasn't ready to commit to it as a career. And I told myself I needed to go to finish my college degree and get a real job, again, in air quotes. And so I did. No regrets there. I have a bachelor's degree in linguistics from University of Hawaii.
Oh, interesting.
And
Wait, Hawaii. Amazing.
yeah, yeah, I lived on the Big
Okay.
Island for 2 years, completing my degree from community college to four-year university.
Awesome.
And I had planned to go and live in Japan and teach English as a second language so that I could become fluent in Japanese. And that was my other part of my degree. And the job didn't work out, but I ended up with a career in association management in DC. So
So it
there you
took
go.
you from Pacific Northwest to Hawaii, then to wow. Okay, I love that.
Yes. And that time, I again was like taking on this persona, hiding away that fashion part of myself and taking on this persona of a serious career person. My wardrobe became very bland. It's fair to say. I was in really conservative suits every day. And I hid my tattoos for years, things
Oh
like that.
wow.
And so it was compartmentalized, this part of myself. At the same time, even though now I was not allowing myself to be really into fashion as I was. And I was an adult and I had disposable income and I could shop retail and new and all these things, was still thrifting. I still loved thrifting. There was a thrift store across the street from my old office, and I would go there on my lunch break and look around and pick up even just a piece of jewelry, and office attire too, all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
I was not as interested as I am today in vintage specifically, I would say.
I feel like at the end of the day, people are going to be inspired by this message. So keep going because it's so good.
Okay, thank you. So even though, yeah, I still found myself thrifting, I think I still really love the hunt, the treasure hunt. I loved the experience of being in a thrift store. I loved it, the creativity that's involved of creating your own looks when it comes to clothing, especially, but creating your own looks with whatever is speaking to you on a rack of fairly random items instead of going to retail where you're shopping from whatever the mannequin is wearing and they're telling you what to wear. You're actually getting in touch with what really speaks to you when you're thrifting your pieces. So I think that it's more of a challenge, but also has a better and bigger payoff creatively in that way. So I was still thrifting. That's when I started to, this was like mid 2010s, I guess, but I started to watch YouTubers who were doing thrift with me videos. I watched Tiny Acorn, Tailor Made Style. I love her. Beth Jones, Alexa Sunshine. They're all, some of them don't do video content anymore, but some of them are huge now.
Yeah.
But that's when I discovered this like niche community online of thrifters and got really into watching the videos. So I still had this like secret obsession that is me in the thrift store on my lunch break and me with my headphones in and a thrifting video in the background and things like that. But again, I was like very much in this career persona, which is important to note because there was a huge change in 2019. And what happened was a lot of personal life things, including the death of my aunt and then my mother following a few months later. So had this like devastating grief process come on very suddenly in 2019. And going through that, I eventually ended up, beginning of 2020, I left my career on hold so that I could settle my mother's estate and travel and visit family and friends and do all these things. And if you're keeping track, we are now at the beginning of 2020 and COVID. So that got interrupted very quickly, that plan. But it left me at home, and that's where things really began to converge of all of these past experiences coming together to bring me here today. And I started tinkering with some creative projects while I was at home and waiting to see when things were going to open back up. We were all on hold there in the COVID days. And that's when, that summer is when I started my YouTube channel. And at first, again, I've been watching people do it. It looked like fun. And I thought, I'm just going to try this. I couldn't get it out of my mind. It was like, I thought about doing it too much, and I thought I have to just try it just to get this thought of the way. So
Wild. Yes, I love it.
so film my first video. I did go into the thrift store, which pat on my own back because it is awkward and a bold move to go and film in public. It's
Especially back then. Yeah.
Especially back then, nobody knew what I was doing, but it was terrible. I filmed it on my phone. I had a terrible quality camera on there. I even used like the wrong aspect ratio for YouTube without thinking, but I did it and I finished it. I taught myself editing. I taught myself how to make a thumbnail, and I got on a schedule, and somehow it was like very slow going at first for a very long time. And it's still very time consuming, but somehow for years I put out a video every Sunday, and that's where Nikki Terry style was born. And I used my middle name, Nicole, Nikki, and then at the time was my boyfriend's now husband last name. So now it is my married name, but at that time it was not even my name. Is Terry.
I thought it was from Terry Cloth. So I love that there's actually a name. Okay, gotcha.
Terry is my last name, and Nikki Terry, I thought it sounds catchy. It makes me feel like I have a new persona. It was a new persona that was given permission to be really into fashion. And along with that, then my channel, it actually took over my life. It became my whole life.
It does,
But I was
yeah.
I was having so much fun doing it and learning so much and meeting people. I made friends from all over the world and a lot of friends, like even that live near me in real life that I'm friends with in person to this day. And at the same time, I did eventually go and to my mother's home in Washington State and go to clean out her house. And as I'm doing that process, I find one of the closets, the dress up closets. And it was still full of all this vintage. And it was the handmade pieces and costume pieces. But it was also things that I had thrifted back in the 90s that were a lot of 60s and 70s stuff that I like to wear.
Did all? That's amazing.
And there was a closet full of all this. And it felt like this final step in, again, the new sort of like the birth of Nikki Terry and like the giving myself permission to really dive into this where I had my YouTube channel and community had grown. People were starting to message me wanting to buy the things they were seeing in my videos and reached that crossroads of, okay, how much am I going to get into this? And it felt like that was finally the deciding point was finding that in my mother's house. It was almost like I'm not
Fine. Yes.
yeah, I'm not a spiritual or woo-woo person personally, but yeah, it did feel like a sign from my mom. It made things connect for me that I realized, oh, my mom did value this type of thing. I realized I had this psychological block about not allowing myself to really be truly myself and be interested and open about the things I was interested in. Like I had hidden that away for so long. I talked to my now husband, Coles, and told him what was feeling about all of this. And that's when he said, I say go for it. He's always been very supportive. And now I have terry cloth vintage out of my basement here. And I have Nikki Terry style on YouTube and Instagram. And I've worked with brand sponsors. I sell out of 2 local shops in the DC area, and I do pop-ups every few weeks in this area.
Ooh,
I
that
love doing a
sounds
pop-up
really good.
market.
Yeah.
And
Tell
then
us a little bit about those too. I want to hear.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I sell online and I'm on mostly these days I'm on the Whatnot app doing live streaming sales.
Yep.
And then last year I also started a new business with some friends where we coach other vintage sellers on live selling on Whatnot.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So you never went back to linguistics.
No.
I love that for you. I love
Not
it.
yet. I
Here.
still love it. It was a very interesting thing to study.
Sure. And it's always a great backup plan if something goes awry.
That's funny, thinking of linguistics as a backup plan. And when people used to ask me what I wanted to do with my linguistics degree, I always thought it was funny to tell them that I wanted to be a ventriloquist.
Yeah.
And just tell them deadpan that that's what I was going to do with it because people did not know how to react to that.
Yeah. They're like, oh, are you serious? Uh-oh.
So I'm just kidding. They're like, with the puppets? Like, no, actually, no.
And it's so interesting to think that you ever struggled with being shy because your personality is what sells all of this. Being out there like that, it's so interesting.
I am one of those like extroverted introverts, and I'm very practiced at this point because I have made myself go out there and do things that scare me constantly. Like I'm someone who's struggled with general anxiety and panic disorder as well. So there's always been this baseline. It's very well managed today. It's very minimal, but I'm used to that like baseline of tension, I guess. But I would force myself to do things like public speaking. I had a couple of radio shows in college and we would host live events for them on the stage, MC the live events with me and my co-host partner in college. Working in association management, I had to be very public facing and do a lot of public speaking type of things. So it's something you can, I think, practice your way into
and overcome
to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk more. I want to hear now. I've got 3 things circled.
I know. I said I asked my bestie about this show and what I should bring to the table here, and she said, "You're someone who's done it all. So thank you for letting me share my story because it does show the path and how things converge. But also at this point, I would say what to know about me is I'm someone who has done it all and the thrifting and vintage world.
And you're really focused on the YouTube side of it, which is super. We're just starting to get into that. So I am really fascinated with it's appointment viewing TV is what you've created for people. So they know, oh, I'm going to tune in every Sunday and get this information, which I absolutely love. And such a smart strategy from a marketing standpoint, because you should add to your list of things you've now learned is social media and marketing.
Yeah.
You've learned it, which is fantastic. And getting brand deals. And I do want to ask a little bit about that, and we'll go back to Whatnot, which is my other circle, and vintage tees. But brand, we have young people that are, I just spoke to this gal yesterday, total delight, Kristen Highland. She's got like 90,000 followers on Instagram. She has no clue what to do with it because she didn't really mean to do it.
Yeah.
In terms of brand deals, because you've grown this huge and loyal following on YouTube, what's your advice to people out there that are maybe new to this and getting into it and have a passion for it? They don't know how to ask. Thoughts, advice on any of that?
Absolutely. Okay. So I would say, first of all, you need to have a clear mission statement for yourself, and maybe even one that you want to share with people and explain what you're doing. And the important thing is going to be, I would say, based on my experience, I'm getting contacted regularly. All I did was put my email on my YouTube account, and I get dozens of emails every day. And that started back when I just hit 1,000 subscribers. And now I only have 10,000. I'm not huge, but the more followers that I get, the more contacts that I get. For me, it's about filtering through and deciding who is going to actually make sense to work with. And I think sticking to your mission statement is very important in that regard, and deciding what's going to best benefit the audience that you've worked really hard to cultivate. Yeah. I care about what they're seeing. And for me, that means I want creative control. I want to get compensated. Yeah. So when you're sitting there, come up with a list of things, a pricing structure.
Oh, interesting.
For me, I would have a base rate this is the minimum rate. And then if the company is asking for other things, again, like creative control, that's a certain percentage added on to the price. And then I would have an administrative fee for the first time I work with the brand, because it is a lot of extra work to get things rolling versus to keep an ongoing relationship. And you can build out your fee structure in that way. You're not really comparing it to an hourly rate, in my opinion, because editing, production on the videos, like, there's just no way you're going to earn a fair hourly rate. So in my opinion, it's just too many hours.
Yeah.
If I think about my hourly rate as a self-employed person, like, I will crumble. However, like, there should be a baseline number that you think works for you and is reasonable for the company to put into their budgets.
And great advice. Start with adding your email to your YouTube page. Huge. Absolutely.
Yeah. People find a way to contact you. And if you I don't have a website either, because social media is my thing.
Yeah.
I use Linktree, and I think Linktree is the easiest, smartest, best tool for business owners these days, because in lieu of a website, your website is just basically going to be a place where you put images, text about you.
Contact info, and then,
but it's about the links. It's about driving people to your product, driving them to your social media so they stay connected with whatever it is. You can set that all up under Linktree for free. Yep. And then you can generate a QR code. So on the back of my business card, I have the QR code, and people can go on there. And even when I do pop-up markets, my PayPal and Venmo and everything, my digital payment options are right there as well. That one code takes people to one place, and all of my stuff is there, and they can follow my YouTube and my Instagram. They can find the shops where I sell, the next pop-up market I'm doing. They can read about my new company, The Grow House, which is the one that coaches vintage sellers. You can if I want to have a web page, I just create a PDF document in Google Docs, and then you have to have it publicly viewable by the link, and then you add that link to your Linktree. So I recommend looking into that as a free way to get started, instead of putting a lot of front-end effort on developing a full website.
Yeah, that's great advice. And a QR code is free these days. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just one. Interesting. All right, let's get into pop-ups because I've got to ask. I know someone is screaming in their car right now. Where can we go find these pop-ups? And they're starting to plan their summer trip. So what I need is like your gems, which I know you do not gatekeep. I see it on your socials. And then the pop-ups we should definitely be putting on our calendar.
Okay. So I regularly sell at a couple of monthly markets in my area.
Mhm.
And my favorite, and one that has been voted the best flea in Virginia, the state of Virginia or Northern Virginia, I'm not sure, is the Del Rey Vintage Flea in Alexandria, Virginia. The Del Rey neighborhood is so cute, walkable, adorable. There's little locally owned businesses up and down the street, including like little boutiques. There's a small antique store. There is a vintage shop where I also sell my clothing, and they're open 6 days a week. There's restaurants and coffee shops, and so it's very walkable. They have a farmer's market on one end, and then there's the Delray Vintage Flea on the other. So if you are in the Northern Virginia, DC area, definitely check out Delray Vintage Flea. It's on the it's on the second Saturday of every month. That one is always my favorite market. I have so many regular customers, and there's always cute dogs to pet, and it's just a very well done market. It's a great variety. There's cool people. I have a lot of friends who do it every month too.
And do you source at these markets too while you're there? You shop or you mostly, what's your sourcing?
I don't source at flea markets a lot because I'm usually participating and I'm usually working solo, which means I don't leave my booth very much. Unfortunately, because of my retail background, I cannot sit and not be interacting with people, and
Yeah.
I can't just sit in my chair and let people come up and purchase stuff from me. Like I have to be mixing it up. I have to be straightening my booth at all times. I try
Working,
not
it's an
to
opportunity. Yeah.
I try not to bother people, but that's the thing with sales, a true sales skill set is that you tread that fine line between really communicating with your customer and not and giving them room, not being too pushy, but also you're finding your in when it's appropriate.
Absolutely. So then you source like thrift stores in DC then, or
I
how do
do mainly source through thrift stores, and that
you?
is, for me, that's largely due to the other nature of my business and creating videos because I'm already there in the thrift store. I'm already finding things. And again, there's frequently an opportunity for me to share content, a YouTube video or something on Instagram, and instantly know that I have a customer for it. And people can contact me just because of the content. They saw something that they want, and then I can ship it to them.
It
So it does make sense for me to be sourcing that way, even though the cost per item is a challenge. Especially in the DC area, the cost per item for me will creep up to like almost $10 an item sometimes. I'm
Oh,
talking
wow.
clothing and accessory items like
Wow.
that. So that's very different from someone buying wholesale or buying by the pound at the Goodwill bins or something like that.
Yeah, you guys don't have the bins there, or you're mostly
We
like,
Yeah, in this area currently, the closest bins would be in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And for me, I'm in the suburbs of DC. That's an hour drive from me, and I'm already like on the way there.
yeah.
So for me, I have not found that to be like worthwhile as a consistent sourcing thing, but I've gone there and I like filming at the
The
bins.
wild adventure. Yeah, it's an
It's
adventure.
absolutely, and there's nothing to really, for me, I'm an environmentalist at heart, and there's just so few other things that really truly make me feel like galvanized in my mission of encouraging everyone to shop secondhand first, because there's the textile waste is just so apparent when you're shopping in a wholesale bin situation like that.
And then I want to know about those special gyms around you that you are sourcing if you can. I love it that they are obviously open to you filming. So talk about the vibe and then those special gems that we need to add to our map.
Yes. So my favorite area to thrift in is actually about 4 hours south of me,
Oh, wow.
because my in-laws live there.
Perfect.
And this
Two
is near
birds, one
Roanoke.
stone. Yes.
Yeah. So this is near Roanoke, Virginia. And so my husband and I are visiting them usually like once a month or so. And they know I'm going to disappear for a day and go thrifting and filming at my favorite little spots down there. I do like to go to the Goodwill of the Valleys is their chapter in the Roanoke area. And the reason why, and people will note this, that I film at these same thrift stores all the time
Over and
because
over, yeah.
I just always strike gold on exactly the type of things that I love to find. And the other reason is that they have dollar Sundays. On Sundays, they have tags that go 50% off and tags that go on sale for $1. So
Wow.
that's where I get my cost of goods down as a reseller. It can get my cost of goods down to $3, $4. So that's where I try to I'm always really heavily curating in my mind. I'm really particular about what I'm getting, but I'm also trying to actively source stuff for my shop because that's where I can get it for a better price while still, again, the thrifting allows me to feel more particular versus buying bulk or wholesale. That said, I do source online or wholesale from other like trusted vintage dealers from time to time. And I think this is worth mentioning because maybe not everyone has thought to do this, but for example, I partner with a local friend of mine, and we met at a local flea market that we both do,
Love
and we're
that.
neighbors, have been neighbors there for years. Yeah, my friend Tony and his wife Amanda. And their business is called Limited Appeal Vintage, by the way. Shout out to them. They're on
Like,
Instagram.
how great is that to have a neighbor that does the same thing you do? Limited
They are
appeal.
my flea market neighbors. I wish
Amazing.
they were my next door neighbors in like my
Okay.
home.
Gotcha.
Yes, I've been trying to get them to buy a house in my neighborhood, but we'll see. But they live in the same town. We do the same pop-up, so we're friends socially as well as seeing each other at this market. Anyway, they have a business that's built around more like sports apparel,
Mm.
and I don't really deal in that. That's not my jam. So they don't sell a lot of women's vintage, and they sell kids stuff. I don't sell kids stuff. So anyway, we've partnered together many times just to do swaps and trade items. If I'm out hunting and I see something that I think, yeah, he would like this, and this is on sale for $1, I'm going to grab it for his shop. And then when we meet up, we just do trades. So it doesn't amount for just that one person. It doesn't amount to a ton of inventory, but there's been certain items that have done really well. Or he said, yeah, I can't sell these menswear shirts. I had all these great like vintage menswear shirts. And I said, yeah, I love those. My customers love them. I put them on my rack, and the way that I presented them and styled them and everything, I sold them
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah. And there's something we said with building your community. I talk to
Yes.
people on this podcast that talk about how lonely it can be. Reselling can be lonely, isolating. It's one of those things you're doing in a vacuum. So I love that you've got a community that you can trade with. You're in a situation where you're doing these pop-ups, you get to visit people, but we've had people on here that like live in their basement and they have a death pile that they're sorting through. It's kind of lonely out there. So
I hear that. Yes. If I was only listing online, I would feel that way. I think
yeah.
it's not exactly the way I like to present my items. And for me, the editing portion and the video creation is very solo work as well. For the most part, I do
Yeah.
collabs with people and things like that are fun. But especially editing, though. Like I
Oh,
can't do anything else while I'm editing. So it's just me. And a lot of times it's me staring at myself on the screen for many
yeah.
hours.
Which is
And
a lot. Yeah. That's a
I get sick of
full-time
me.
job.
So yes, finding a community is super important. The thing for me was that I felt like I had a small friend group prior to doing this, but now my social sphere has opened up so much in the last 6 years having been doing this. And that's how I met my best friend locally, is that followed her on Instagram. I think she posted from a local thrift store, and I was like, oh, she has
Love
cute
that.
style.
Yeah.
And then one day we said, let's go get coffee and go to a flea market. And then we said, let's do some Instagram live sales together. And
Yeah.
then now we've been like best friends for 6 years. So
It is a community.
it's really important, like you
Yeah.
said.
I
It's
love to be
really
a
important to
voyeur.
tap in and to
Yeah.
view other sellers, generally speaking, to view other sellers as community over competition is super important to me.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, I go back to my mission, which is just to promote the secondhand market and world at large. So a lot of my content you'll see is not even really me promoting my own business. It's me just lifting up other vintage businesses, promote people that I like to shop with.
Yeah. I think you're doing that for the thrift store. I was
And the
saying,
thrift store.
yeah, that's huge. We need your help. It's so much more valuable to me as a doing marketing for a thrift store to have someone like you who shops and gives real-time feedback. I'm really into your real-time feedback. I was saying we're going to use one of your video series, and I want to talk about that. You don't just shop thrift in Washington, D.C. You've highlighted other towns. Specifically, I'm most excited about your San Antonio content. You highlighted two stores that we didn't even know needed to be on our radar. And it may change the way we do our practices. Here in Colorado, we have this huge infrastructure. I've got, I don't know, something million square feet of warehouse space to store things for seasons. And San Antonio, Texas is going to be a store and a donation station. We're going to have, and we'll have a small warehouse, but it's going to be a whole nother ball game. And I'm curious, like, you highlighted one store where they're doing like 25-cent Wednesdays.
Yes, the Family Bargain Center.
Yes.
Yes.
This didn't even occur to us, but it may be smart. Right now, when something is, we call it ragged off, and it's lived on our floor for 5 weeks and has gone on sale 5 times at half off, it's not going to sell. So we put it into recycle, and we try and work with ethically responsible countries that are doing the right thing with secondhand product from the US, which is also a big challenge. But to your point, sustainability and what fast fashion is doing to our country is outrageous, but we're still able to make money that way. But maybe San Antonio, we need to look at these 25-cent days. I'm dying to know, did you find good stuff?
I do remember finding some things at that 25-cent day. Was I there on the 25-cent day? The way their structure worked was the price goes down every day of the week, and then they roll out the fresh stuff on
and it was
Thursday,
a Wednesday,
and Thursday
and you were
is
there for it. Yes,
I was there. Okay, so thank you for reminding me. It's been a few years, but I do remember finding a few things. I have diverse tastes, and the way that I see pieces, I think a couple of things. So I get the comment a lot on my videos that people will say, I did not understand why you picked up that top or what have you when you were in the thrift store. But then once you styled it, it completely changed my mind. And that's such a big compliment to me, honestly. I love hearing that, because that's what I'm here for, is not just the showing the thrift stores, but then trying to give a vision at the end of the video by styling the pieces that I have brought home, whether they're ones that I'm keeping personally or ones that are going to go into my inventory, which has become increasingly more part of my content as the vintage business has grown and outgrown the YouTube.
Yeah.
And likewise, the way that I curate my vintage store is very aesthetic and collection based, which again is about thinking about the end product for each individual piece. So for me, reselling is a term that usually covers people who are looking for the Bolo brands. Be on the lookout for those who don't know. And that would be very brand based with hot and trending and in fashion or what people are searching for. And it could be very data driven. And what I do is a little bit closer to vintage curation, which is in my mind like an appreciation for the look of the garment, the quality of it, the history of it, the retro nature of it, like how much it represents a certain era of fashion history. But what I like to do is curate my collections by aesthetic. And this was a change I made a year or two into my business, which was I used to go to a pop-up market and I would have a rack of dresses, a rack of tops, and a rack of bottoms, and sort it that way. And I did that for the first year. And then the second year, I decided to go a little bit, decided I really like doing the markets. So I did two things. I invested in creating a better presentation in my booth. So that meant like getting equipment and displays types of things. And I don't have anything fancy. I thrifted a lot of the stuff that I use to display
Like
my
your
items. That's the
fixtures. Yeah, your
idea.
fixtures look great. They look amazing. I thought you had a brick and mortar store, to be honest, in your content. That's how good they are. So just from a content,
Oh, okay.
I really thought it was brick and mortar.
I do sell at a couple of brick and mortar stores,
Yeah.
and I do the similar thing in the brick and mortars, so that's worth noting. The second year I switched from, again, I upgraded my display, and then I switched to each rack being like a curated collection. So instead of just all the dresses that I have sourced, it's everything that a whimsy goth aesthetic person could want in their closet, including the dresses and the skirts and the tops. And then I have a menswear rack, and that will be like a lot of my menswear has stayed less trendy. It's already consistently like distressed and grunge and cool graphic tees. But yeah, so I curate based on these like fashion aesthetics, not focus on the hyper trendiness of it, but just focus on providing a retail level experience for someone shopping secondhand. And I think people forget that, like, when most people are shopping in the mall or a store or even online, they're given much more of a vision of this is what the piece is going to do. This is how it's going to look on you. This is how it's going to fit with other items. So I think I recreate that with my displays and by pairing things together. And it also has helped me. My sales doubled that year, like easily, by the way. It was very effective. So that's the direction I've gone ever since, because I love it. I have so much more fun doing it, and it helps me focus my curation. So I'll use Pinterest and come up with some inspiration of, ooh, this is the feel of this customer, of this person and their style. And then I'm looking for those types of pieces. And so when I'm deciding in the thrift store if I'm going to get something or not, then I know this is going to go on that rack and this is going to fill it out. So like right now I'm working on my spring collection that's going out next week. And it's very like romantic, of course, like we're close to Valentine's Day, and lacy. It's got a little bit of a boho vibe, but it's also a little bit dark and sexy.
Yeah. And what a great sales technique. And I'm thinking back to you did a Wednesday inspired content.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this is amazing. It started very Wednesday, but then it expanded to this 90s grunge that I was like, oh my God, my high school heart is like blowing up at so it like speaks to you and these things I wouldn't even have thought about. So I think that strategy is great advice to our listeners too, who may be thinking about that. Not just an individual item that you think is cool. You're creating like a curated package that speaks to people. And it wasn't just like the Wednesday outfit. It turned into docs and a skirt, which I love that look. It's just a cool inspiration. Here's where the inspiration started. And let me show you a picture package of all the ways you can style it. So it's super fun. I love that.
I try to show a lot in my videos too. I try to show a lot of my process. It's very unscripted when I'm in the styling portion. It's all very unscripted, but especially in the styling portion, I try to even include things where I'm just thinking out loud. And people love to see things like the same piece styled in multiple different ways. Yes. People love that type of thing as well. The styling portion takes a lot though. And I've gone through periods where like I've had a back injury and I was like, I can't put my own shoes on. How do I do this? How do I keep styling pieces? And when I'm physically unable to, things like that. But it takes a lot of time. I make a lot of mistakes. I goof off a lot. For the first, I don't know, like most of my videos come with a blooper reel at the end. I try to lean into it and put these clips together when something awkward or what I thought was funny would happen, because I also think that a big part of my mission in life is to make people laugh.
Yeah.
It's like the best feeling.
Find the joy in this. You've put together a career that can be inspirational and fun. Well, that's super cool. I got to ask about vintage T-shirts. Tell us more. Yes. What's your collection look like?
It is out of control. I have a real problem. I always loved T-shirts. When I was a kid thrifting, we would try to find those like oddball T-shirts in the thrift, ones that say something just odd. You don't know exactly what it means. I had this one that I wore all the time in high school, and it said doing research for my novel. And it was a pink T-shirt. And it's not hilarious, but it's just odd enough that you're like, what
Yes.
is that about? And I had one that was like one of the 70s glitter transfers that said a beer a day keeps the body this way. And I actually cut the graphic out for some reason, but I remember stitching it onto a different t-shirt with the exposed stitches. Yeah, so I always liked the quirky stuff like that to be worn ironically with those like grunge slacker vibes. I still love that to this day. I collect, I since I got on Whatnot is about 4 years ago is when I really started getting into connected with more of the vintage t-shirt community
It's a
and other
big community
collectors.
out there. Yeah, they're huge.
It's huge. I learned so much. I sell t-shirts as well when I can bear to part with them, but I've done things like wholesale. I have one video of it actually. If you are interested to watch, I bought a 100-pound premium bale of vintage t-shirts from a trusted wholesaler and open them. And then I auction everything for $1 on Whatnot,
Whatnot is growing. There is a
Whatnot's
vibe on
crazy.
there. Yeah.
It's a cult. It's a
It's
cult.
pretty interesting. Yeah.
A
And
harmless
speaking of
cult.
cults, I do want to ask about this thrift store scavenger hunt that you do with your brother-in-law. And my note on here from my producer says it's a love letter to thrift stores. Tell us more.
Yes. Oh, this is one of my when I think about some of my favorite videos that I get to do or have been able to do or in collaborations with other people, this is easily always top of mind for me is each year I started doing this. I don't think I did it the first year of YouTube because I was pretty new, but second year of my YouTube channel, National Thrift Shop Day in August,
Huge.
I decided to do something a little fun and different. I went to a thrift store this first year by myself and created a scavenger hunt list of items that are like commonly found at the thrift and that are just those things that like make you smile because you're going to always see them. It's just such like thrift store classics.
Yes. There are
So
so many
and
of
there's
them.
so many, yes. And I asked on Instagram other people to share with me what they thought should be on the list. I got great suggestions from my followers. And so people got it. They knew what I was talking about. So the first year I did it by myself and it was a lot of fun, but I knew I wanted to run with it. So then the following years, I've done it as a competition with my brother-in-law, Jonathan. And he's not a YouTuber or anything. He's a nurse, but he's the most competitive person that I know. And he's adorable and he's great on camera. People love him. So we have a lot of fun. He's not a big thrifter either, not as much as me, but he is more and more. It's getting in his blood. But he and I will go and film ourselves like together and then separately we're in the same we have to pick like a large thrift store and we have a list of like 30 items and we film ourselves trying to find these items. We get really competitive and even try to do little things to sabotage each other on good fun, and then we share our finds at the end of the video and just it never fails to be hysterical. On the list is things like there's that one t-shirt that every thrift store has is like America the Beautiful.
Of them. Yes.
That one t-shirt that's like an America t-shirt. Anything that says live, laugh, love.
Ugh.
Like a sassy coffee mug, a personalized item, a possessed doll.
A creepy
So
doll head. Yes.
a creepy
There's
doll,
many of
yeah,
them.
a themed
Yes.
Monopoly game. Yeah, so we'd find as many things or as many like funny or like very special, unique things as we can. And then we share it at the end of the video. And it all comes together in the editing because of the competition aspect. I get to like just do these like quick cuts and put in little sound effects and
Reactions. Yes.
yeah,
You guys
so
should totally apply for the Amazing Race. It feel no shaking that too
honey, no.
competitive.
I love Jonathan, but let's keep it that way.
That's way too much.
He would laugh at that. He would laugh
Yeah,
at that.
it just seems like that. And I do love the edits of it. I think that's a sweet thing. I do want to say you had a fun meme too. Clear eyes, full cart. The Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
You're speaking to all these really nostalgic things that are like they make people happy. And I love what you're doing. And I love that your mission statement is really exactly what we're trying to do on this podcast, which is normalize shopping secondhand. That's
Yeah, exactly. And it's so fun. It's been amazing to put that out there and see that there's so many people who are sharing in that and who get it. And it's even more amazing to me to think about all the people that I hear from who say, I'm just getting into thrifting because I can't imagine. And we're in the golden age of thrifting now. There's so many ways to thrift.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do hope it continues. Unicorn item. I like to ask this. Do you have that one thing that you're like the most proud of, whether you've kept it or resold it, or, oh, you have one?
So
Yeah.
I have a few unicorn items that are things that I felt like I manifested, if you will. Again, I'm not like a person, but I'm just saying, we all know about the thrift manifestation. And these are pretty amazing because one of my best ever was that I was looking for one of those 1970s rattan wicker shelves that are like arched at the top. Yeah, it's a tall bookshelf. It's a piece of furniture. They were selling at that time, this is years ago, but they were selling for $300 or so on Facebook Marketplace. So I was looking at some in my area and was like, do I want it? Debating it. But I was trying to manifest one.
Right?
Yeah. And within a couple of days, one of my neighbors was throwing one away.
You found it outside on the front porch?
It was on the curb. They were clearing out their basement. And I'll say I'm very lucky because in my neighborhood, you can throw anything away and the city will pick it up. So our trash days are epic. And listen, I am not above picking some garbage. I'm not talking about, I'm not opening trash bags and digging through people's personal things, but people will they'll curb a piece of perfectly good furniture, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But then they'll put on the Facebook group curb alert with a picture of it, and like people will go around and pick stuff up. So
I love that curb alert.
Curb alert, yeah. And if I can and no one else is taking it, I will grab it and I'll take it to donate it to a small thrift store in my area that always needs donations. I found someone who had like bins and bins of clothing that way. And yeah, picking trash.
Yeah, that's always a good idea. Always.
But I did, so I found the 70s shelf that now I keep all my purses on it in my bedroom. It's amazing. Same story with a really nice air purifier.
Ooh.
It just needed a new filter. It wasn't even dirty or anything. They probably just didn't want to change it or didn't know. They thought it was broken. A Dyson vacuum, like really nice garbage. Okay.
Wow. In San Diego, we called it Alley Mart because all of our houses were backed up to alleys. And the day before trash day, it was alley. I don't know why. It was just like a community thing. And we'd call it Alley Mart. And you would just walk down and grab whatever. You got a great dining room table. So I feel that. Love that.
My husband, we have 2 dogs. So it's like, it's trash night. We'd take the dogs for a walk late at night.
Yes. Just in
See
case
if there's anything still sitting out that people are,
All right,
he likes to fix things.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
What about the thing you're trying to manifest? Is there that one thing you're looking for right now, so that hopefully if you say it into the universe and to this podcast, it'll appear the next time you're thrifting?
One of my things a couple things that have been on my list are actually home decor related as well, which are, if I find a mid-century starburst wall clock in the wild, I will probably faint on the spot. Let's hope. And then it's also been on my list to find a really nice vintage crewel, which it's like an embroidery piece of art. And I have a small one behind me on the wall that's like a little squirrel. I did find that one, but the funny thing was recently I was in a thrift and I had been in this thrift store for an hour and then walked by a woman who was looking at one that was a big, beautiful crewel with these cute owls on it and flowers and everything. And she was examining it. It was like $5 and she was trying to decide whether to buy it. And I was like, man, I almost got my crewel, but she bought it.
She ended up buying it. Oh, that's when you start going, oh, I see why you're not interested. I can see the stain. Talking over
I know. I thought about talking her out of it and I decided that wouldn't be good thrifting karma.
Bad thrift karma. 100%.
Bad form.
Yes. You never know. People tell me that manifesting on this podcast works. Fingers crossed. You never know.
You never know.
Or if you plan a trip to Colorado, I can promise you'll find it here, girl. So think about that.
I definitely will. I would love to do a traveling thrifting series this year. And so it could be Colorado. I have some thrifting friends I'd love to visit out there.
Oh, there's a lot of people here who follow you. So just food for thought. I got to plant the seed. We've talked about whatnot. We've talked about manifesting. What's next for you? What's the big 2026 goal? Anything amazing that we should be following along and waiting to see besides a trip series on Colorado thrifting?
So, two things for this year, and the biggest is that I really need to get my YouTube channel popping again because I've
Yeah.
neglected it the last couple of years and I haven't posted videos as frequently, but I'm working on some fresh content right now. I would love to get back into a weekly schedule, but with the now three businesses cooking together, it
Busy.
might have to be a little bit different schedule, but I still love doing the YouTube videos and I have been told that I'm missed. So if you do like my YouTube channel, I will come back. Okay.
It's huge. I
That's gonna be
really feel like
huge.
it's a great opportunity. Please come back.
And the other thing would be my new business, the Grow House,
Oh, talk about that. Yes.
which is we're a collective. It's me and three other vintage seller friends. We're in across the Eastern United States. And we started this kind of coaching business for people who want to get into live selling on Whatnot. We can co-host them on our platform. We can give them all of the tips and tricks that we know and have learned and give them this soft landing space to get started into that. And it was something I was doing informally for the past couple of years with newer sellers coming to the app because I had been on there longer and they come to me looking for advice or looking for me to host them for a couple of shows so they could get their feet wet. And now my friends approached me about starting a whole thing with it. So we just started this last fall and it's getting going in the women's vintage category. I think it's going to be huge when it hits. So if you're someone who sells women's vintage, you want to get into live sales on Whatnot, hit me up. I would love to work with you. I will
Have an
host you.
Instagram, right, that is the Grow House. Is that correct?
It's called the Grow House Gang on
Yeah.
Instagram.
I knew I was missing that last piece of it. The Grow House Gang.
Yeah.
Give them a guys. We'll have to reach out. And if you guys wanted to join this podcast, maybe and tell us like some stories or share the business, we'd love to have you. So more to come on that too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Like I said, this podcast is devoted to spreading the good word of shopping secondhand, but it's people like you that are doing it online and out loud. And now with a collective of people to share the knowledge of how to do this, they're going to keep it going for many years to come. So thank you for your service to our industry. We are extremely grateful.
Oh, thank you so much. And I agree. I think that secondhand, I know we're in a boom, but I think it's just getting started.
Oh, I hope the thrift gods hear your voice directly and listen to that because we certainly need it as we continue to grow this business. I appreciate you playing along and giving us your story. Super fascinating. As we end every pod, we like to give a shout out to my personal hero, the inspiration of my vintage world, one Miss Dolly Rebecca Parton. Thoughts, feelings, anything you'd like to say to or about our queen?
Our queen, our patron saint in thrifting.
Yes.
I had an opportunity to go to Dollywood once, but it was in, I think, 2020. And I was on a thrifting road trip filming videos with my sister.
Yes.
And we were right there, but it was COVID. And it was just, we decided it was not a good move to go to such a busy place. So it's on the bucket list to get to Dollywood for sure. What I will say about Dolly, first of all, the thrifting in that area is fantastic, by the way.
Good to know.
Yes. And anyway, watch the video series on YouTube. I documented the thrifting spots and what we found. And the cool thing about Dolly that I think every thrifter can appreciate is that she's like unapologetically herself. As I talked about my own journey into becoming Nikki Terry and this whole thrifting thing, like being yourself is really what is going to bring the right opportunities, bring the right things into your life and friendship and all good things. And she's also an incredibly generous spirit. And I think that's a huge part of the thrifting community too, that we can all appreciate, whether it's being generous with your time and lifting up other people in the community, or being generous with your donations, where you're spending your money, being conscious of how you're rehoming items, everything.
You really embraced everything that she is. And I had never tied it back to the donations too. That's perfect. I love it. Thank you for being long in that, Nikki. I appreciate it. You're an
in Dolly we trust.
Yes, in all the things, Dolly. People often question it, and I'm just like, it's hard to explain, but it really is the perfect thing. All roads lead to Dolly. So thanks for playing. You're an absolute delight. We appreciate you joining the podcast today. Tell our listeners once again how they find, follow, and send you all their love, and hopefully tune into Whatnot to buy something special.
Yeah, the best way is actually to find me on Instagram at Nikki Terry Style. And I have my link in bio there that takes you to my Linktree with all my socials, including my Whatnot page, including my YouTube channel, and including in-person markets that'll be if you are local to the DMV area.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us, Nikki. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Thrifties, thanks so much for tuning in once again to the Get Thrifty podcast. Reminder, save our pod. Leave us a 5-star review about how funny, creative, and smart we are. And if you're part of our unique thrift culture, you can find me on Instagram at Podcast with Maggie. We'd love to have you on. And of course, please follow ARC on Instagram at ARC Thrift, and now on TikTok at ARC Thrift Stores, and on YouTube. Tune in and subscribe on YouTube at ARC Thrift. Thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful week.
Hunt for it, find it, make it your own. It's the Get Thrifty Podcast.